What's good, YouTube? It's Stormy B, man. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the latest edition of my rap about Kung Fu. I have changed the title of my show that I do featuring the Kung Fu films. It is now called Kung Fu Film Focus, okay? And that's the name of that show featuring my reviews and recollections on the genre of Kung Fu films going forward. Just wanted to let you know that. That's how we're going to be operating under that title going forward. Simply because there was a little bit of confusion, from time to time when I would do a live stream, my Friday night chop session, and then the Kung Fu chop session, people were kind of crossing them up. And that was my fault. And admittedly, I was being a little lazy with my titling. So I've elected to change the features of Kung Fu, and they'll now fall under that category of Kung Fu Film Focus. And this evening, we will be enjoying the recollections and discussions on a classic film. Most may remember it from 1972 if you've been around that long, or you're into the films like I am and know where they uh, where they were released in the U.S. But the film is actually from 1971. Okay, Lady Whirlwind. That's our film of this evening. Lady Whirlwind, aka Deep Thrust. And it stars the classic and she what can we say, the beautiful Angela Mao Ying, as her full name is known. And this woman had the fortune of signing a contract with Golden Harvest Studios back in late 1970, where she was able, I think she was 19 years old at the time, and she was able to join the studio as an athletic actress who had a background in Peking opera. Okay, and Angela, like so many of her male counterparts, her history in the genre was really founded on her athletic talents and abilities. Many people don't know that she came up in the era of Sammo Hung and Jackie Chan and Yuen Biao and the Seven Little Fortunes and all of those guys. But her opera background stemmed from Taiwan. Okay, and as I said, she was fortunate to get the opportunity to sign with Golden Harvest Studios, where they were looking for young, fresh faces because the founder of the studio, Raymond Chow, and his executive producing partner, Leonard Ho, they had left Shaw Brothers Studios only a year and a half earlier, where Run Run Shaw ran the mighty Shaw Brothers Studios, and Raymond Chow was like his right hand man. Raymond Chow gave a great deal of ideas, fresh ideas, to studio mogul Run Run Shaw, and helped him make Shaw Brothers what it was. But Raymond was okay with being the right hand man because he had a lot of power in what he did with the Shaw Empire. And the brothers who ran their studio, like a former United States Hollywood studio from the 30s and the 40s, where the big big studios were ran by moguls who had long contracts for their actors and performers, and tight studio budgets, and they ran the studios like a machine. So Mr. Shaw actually adopted the American formula for that for his studios, and it ran very well for him. And he enjoyed long time success. He enjoyed long time favor of producing stars. And Raymond Chow was right there under the umbrella, so he knew how everything was run. But as often happens in life, Mr. Chow could not compete with a woman. And as it came, Run Run Shaw took a mistress by the name of Mona Fong, and Mona Fong, who had a great interest in the studio's affairs as she got closer to Run Run, she made sure that Run Run kept a distance between himself and Raymond didn't enjoy that at all. So the executive of the studios for Shaw's became Mona Fong as Raymond decided to leave the studio, and he ventured just to Clearwater Bay and right on the slopey sites of Hong Kong, and opened up Golden Harvest Studios, which was a former textile mill, and also formerly Cathay Studios, who had ran sword epics during the 60s, but they shut down when most of their staff died tragically in a airplane crash. So Cathay Studios had shut down, and the old mill was unoccupied for a duration until Run Run took over and began to start to turn out his own low-budget fare. The only difference was his facilities were quite crude as opposed to Shaw's, who had acres of land and studio housing, film housing, dormitories, sets, outdoor sets, all built up on a huge expanse of land that the Shaw brothers had purchased in the 50s. Raymond Chow, he knew movie business, and he knew how to produce what audiences wanted. He had the background of listening to the audience's ear, and he was suggesting to Run Run at the time they worked together how to keep things fresh. So he felt like if he could find the right talents with opening his own studios, he would be able to provide the audience with the same type of fare that Shaw Studios offered, but with a different play on the contracts that he offered his players, as well as the way to go about making deals with people, not putting them in as long of contracts, and looking to make certain that they could share in some profits, but not very much, but just something to make it lucrative to draw people into his studio and his studio's graces. Another person that joined Raymond from the Shaw Brothers Studios was a director, Wong Feng. And Wong Feng was a guy who worked right under Golden Harvest banners for a number of years and produced a number of the Hong Kong Kung Fu classics out of their studios in the early 70s. Ironically, he never worked with Bruce Lee, but he was a far better director than Lo Wei. And Wong Fei became the mentor of Angela Mao Ying. And as we begin to get into Angela and her accomplishments with the studio, we find that as the shows began to go forward, their productions were quite crude. But what made up for that more than anything were the actors and actresses that he had signed, because they were young, fresh, vibrant, handsome, and beautiful lads that joined the studio. He has a birthday coming up. She had experience from the age of 5 after being in 1969. Director Wong Feng had seen her and signed her to a contract at Golden Harvest. She remained at Golden Harvest until the late 70s, just around like 1980 when she settled down. She retired from the industry and married. One of the things that Hong Kong actresses would do was when they decide to get married, they would just leave their film career behind. So one of the other actresses who was popular with Golden Harvest Studios, such as Angela Mao, Maria Yi, or Yi Yi, as she was known in Hong Kong, when she married in the mid-70s, she left her career behind. I think she was in her late 20s or mid-20s when she left the industry, and she has seemingly just fell off the map. Supposedly she lives in Canada somewhere, but there are really no modern photos of her or anything. And Maria Yi was a very popular actress, very pretty woman, and she was a skillful actress. She usually played an innocent dame, but she was known for swordplay epics such as Shanghai Killers, you know, and she also played in a couple of Bruce Lee films. Back to Angela Mao. With her filmography, Angela starred in films all the way, I want to say, up to 1992 or 90. It might have been even 1990, where she made an appearance in a film called The Ghost Bride, and she was well known for holding her own in the kung fu film genre. Angela is noted for films such as The Angry River, Hapkido, When Taekwondo Strikes, The Opium Trail, The Fate of Lee Khan, which was recently remastered on Blu-ray, so if you haven't had a chance to check that out, you can go and look on Amazon. The Fate of Lee Khan has been remastered, and she plays a very good role in that film. She's a co-star there. She played Bruce Lee's sister in Enter the Dragon, and she was also known for other classics such as The Snake Deadly Act, The Himalayan, The Two Great Cavaliers, Broken Oath, and there are far more films that I could name. But since we're talking about Lady Whirlwind in this particular show, it's like an introduction of Angela and also an introduction to the ladies of the martial art film genre, since I hadn't had a chance to talk about them very much lately. Lady Whirlwind was her first starring role, and in the film, Angela is depicted as a woman hell-bent on revenge for her younger sister, who was shunned by a man that she was in love with, and she committed suicide. So she seeks this gentleman out to avenge her sister's death. In the meantime, the gentleman that she's pursuing, he had a run-in with a gang that's running drugs and other sordid affairs out of a small town, And when he doesn't abide by their rules and policies, they set out to murder him. And leaving him for dead, he's nursed to health by a young woman who happens across his body as they left him for dead near a riverbank. The woman who nurses him back, her name in the film is Schwan. And it's noted, her name is called so many times by the leading actor who's playing opposite Angela in this film, Chang Yi. Chang Yi is famous for a lot of Hong Kong film roles, and people will remember him when they see him, because he played villains, he played heroes, but he was most noted in the later part of the 70s for playing villains. But in the early part of the 70s, he was cast as a leading role action good guy. And this was all before Bruce Lee came on the scene in Hong Kong film. So Chang Yi, his character being nursed back to health by Schwan, she is played by actress June Woo. And June Woo played a lot of bit roles in Hong Kong films as well. She's known as one of the damsel in distress type actresses. That's primarily the role that she played in films. There's another feature about this film that sparks of interest, because the women in the film are depicted on equal sides. They're depicted as as I mentioned a moment ago, a damsel in distress type, weakling, woman needs help type of role. And then Angela's character, who is a modern day physical prototype kick-ass woman, and she takes no prisoners. She's the best fighter in the film, and she's very believable in her role, despite being such a slight woman. I believe Angela Mao might have been all but 5 foot tall or a little bit less, and she had very short arms. But this film being choreographed by the legendary Sammo Hung Kempo, Sammo knew how to shoot action with Angela, and he always made her look very good in her action roles. That's why she was known as the female Bruce Lee, because the action choreography that she was able to carry out, particularly in this film, which really set her on her own path as a leading star. Her films in the US ran directly behind Bruce Lee's as far as box office receipts for Golden Harvest, and she never knew the financial success that she had garnered internationally, because the film overseers, Raymond Chow and Mr. Leonard Ho, they kept that information from her, and she was never able to demand her value for what she had received. And it's a shame, because the woman was excellent. She had a huge audience, and she now resides in New Jersey, and she is still quite astonished to see people come and see her at her restaurant where she runs and recognize her from her heyday over 40 years ago. What a woman. And she was able to carry a film all by herself. Bruce Lee thought so highly of her, he came to her set of her film When Taekwondo Strikes, with her as the leading actress, and Master Jun Ray, the godfather of Taekwondo here in America, who played the lead role in that film, and was given that opportunity by suggestion on Bruce Lee. He dropped by her film set and gave her pointers because he thought she was such an excellent on-screen fighter herself. A little tidbit that people don't know: when Bruce Lee shot the action scenes for Game of Death, and he encountered the Hapkido expert Ji Hun Jae, the gentleman who had the white gi trimmed in gold, when he shot those scenes originally with Ji Hun Jae, he wasn't happy with the result. He thought that the scenes didn't have enough pop and pizzazz because he felt that Ji Han-jae, although an excellent martial artist in real life, couldn't do on-screen fighting well because his timing wasn't where Bruce thought it should be. And he thought about reshooting the entire fight segment with him and the other two guys that were taking on G in that scene. And he was thinking about replacing G with Angela Mao. That would have been very interesting because he died before he was able to make those changes and adjustments, but it was something that was on the table that he felt he wanted to do before the film wrapped. And Game of Death was far from wrapping at the time of Lee's death. I'm going to stop a moment here and go to the chat because I noticed we've got a couple of people in there. Joseph Brown, he's out there. Joseph was waiting early on, and I appreciate you and your support, brother, for stepping out there and you know, waiting for Stormy B Man to drop this gem on you this evening. Appreciate you, bro. Gil Coles is out there. He says salute Stormy B Man and the chat. And he's also saying salute to Joseph Brown. 78 is out there. He says salute, brother. Salute to you, General. How you doing, bro? I was listening to your stream and went on a little bit after you got off, and really enjoyed what you were talking about this evening. Salute to you, and hey, man, congratulations with you and Black Fight Fan on what you guys are going to be hitting tomorrow, your milestone. And I surely will be tuned in to listen to you brothers in the morning. So salute to you, General. And one last thing, General 78, if you're still out there, I'm thinking of doing my next segment of Kung Fu Film Focus on one of your gems, bro. Dragon Fist with Jackie Chan. So I think that's what's going to be the next show that I do when I do my Kung Fu film review. So, as I was saying about Lady Whirlwind, the rest of the cast of this film is pretty much a who's who from the early 70s. We have a person who was known for being a villain in the early 70s. Sammo Hung, who you already see pictured because Sammo is a fight choreographer first and stuntman first by trade. And he later became an actor, and then even still later he became a director in his own right. But we had the likes of Pai Yin, Yuan Chet, and also a woman that we had seen a few times, Anna Liu. And these three people, when they played in the industry, they usually were the people that you love to hate and hiss at on the screen. Their characters were always someone giving people a hard time in the films. And it's funny because, you know, typecasting, character actors like themselves, but they did their roles so well. You know, like when you talk about Chen Yuet Sang, who you see there depicted on the right, he is at the lower bottom portion. He's a guy that always played a villain, getting his butt kicked by the stars of the films and everything. But he was a great villain. He was always a guy that talking crap, always like just twisting a thorn in your side, and you couldn't wait to see him get his ass kicked during the film. But his martial arts his skill level was very good, and Sammo always kept him around. He's a guy that worked with Sammo in so many productions, sometimes just as a stuntman, but a lot of times as a villain or one of the villain's henchmen or something like that. He was always there. I remember watching him in Slaughter in San Francisco, where there was the funniest scene where he was fighting the black guy in the film that was playing the buddy cop of Don Juan Tao. And they were fighting in the streets or whatever, and the black guy was like a cop, and Don Juan Tao was a cop also. They were partners, and they were fighting against. They were fighting. This is so funny. They were fighting against Chen Yue Tsang and his gang, and he punched him real good and kicked him, and there was a moment of pause where Chen Yue Tsang pulled out a gun after, you know, like he got punched in the face. He was holding his jaw, and he pulled out the gun and shot it like sideways, like he was like throwing up a gang sign or something. But he shot the gun and pistol, and the bullet hit old boy. It grazed his neck, the black guy, and he started running. It was one of those funny scenes in the kung fu films that I don't think it was meant to be funny, but every time I see that movie, I roll like hell, man. That shit was funny as hell. You have to see the movie yourself to see what I'm talking about. It's an old film. It's a classic from the genre, but it's not a great film by any means. But it's known for having Chuck Norris playing his second evil baddie after playing the baddie in Way of the Dragon with Bruce Lee. So, and he faces Don Juan Tao at the end of the film. But I digress from Lady Whirlwind. You know, Lady Whirlwind, as Angela came out in this film, and she fought, she was the baddest fighter in the film. She whooped everybody's ass. And she got a great chance to whoop on Sammo several times in the film. I think she kicked Sammo's ass 4 times before he finally met his fate at one point in the film. But boy, he should have been tired of getting his ass whooped by her, because she was really laying it on him, man. And all of the other stuntmen in there, Wilson Tong, there were so many familiar faces in the backdrops, but she really stood out in this role. And I could see why Golden Harvest wanted to keep her in-house, because she maintained, and at no point did you ever feel that she was really a weak person. She was very strong. Who think about it in that manner or give as much credit that is due. But that was definitely something that rolled down like Angela did. Angela was wonderful, and it didn't hurt that she was so sexy. You know, yeah, I like my Angela. So you guys, you probably talking about Stormy B, man, and how he, you know, he fawns over Angela Mao, but you guys have no idea. That was my first love, man. When she came out in the movie theaters, Angela was it for me. I thought that was all there was. Angela Mao. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, she was something else. But what a action film. There are a lot of fights in this movie. The fights are set up by, you know, little linking scenes. I call them linking scenes in Kung Fu films, because it's basically a little bit of dialogue to get you from one point to another. And then they get to talking about something, and next thing you know, they break out fighting again. So, you know, that's just the way of the Kung Fu film right there. That's how it goes. And I don't mind, you know. I like it. That's what I, you know, watch these films for, the action. You know what I mean? So let me go back to the chat. We got 89 TV in the chat. He says, salute. What's going on with you, 89 TV? Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. He says, salute my peoples. What's going on with you, Reggie? I see, Reggie, you be coming around for a little bit of Kung Fu fair now, huh? Well, let me tell you something, brother. This is a great one right here with Angela Mao Ying, Lady Whirlwind, man, where she is definitely the pontification of the name in the title. She goes through this film whooping ass and taking names, and there's a few I don't give a dams and everything that she spews out at these bad guys, and she threatens them and tell them what she gonna do to them and where she gonna put her feet, and she does it. And I love it. And it's one to watch, because that's what it's all about in Kung Fu films, putting your foot in somebody's ass. You know? Joseph Brown says, Gil Cole salute. And he's also laughing. Ghosts like Angela too. Yeah. Let me tell you, man, Angela was something else, bro. Had a Jones for her. I was a little boy, but I was like, I knew what that was. Mm-hmm. Reggie says, yeah, I'm tuning in, OG. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate everybody who's out there, man. And, you know, please hit the like button for you brothers that's out there. And for those who are just on looking and out there, please hit the like button because I'm sharing this information and talking about these films because I love them. And I'm sure some of you guys love them as well, if not like them. And they are, guilty pleasures. That's what I like to say about them. You know, these films are guilty pleasures. So, you know, that's that's what I wanted to say about that, you know. So, but yeah, what a lady though, man, Angela Maoying, you know. In this film, as she goes after Chang Yi, the man who she blames for her sister's death, he keeps asking her to give him some time so he could take revenge on that gang that left him for dead. But she was like, what if they kill you? Then I won't get revenge for my sister. So she's like really, torn between giving him a chance to do his business because there's a certain amount of martial respect there. You know what I mean? It's like these guys, they have that chastity, that kind of solemn respect and dignity that they know what revenge and avenging means. So she's considering, being that way with him. And at one point she thinks he's just bullshitting her and she's ready to kill him right then and there. And then she realizes that that's not the case. And then Xuan, she keeps coming in there begging and pleading for him to get an extra chance and everything. And she can see how weakling Xuan is, and Xuan just wants to have a man in her life, you understand? And she don't really care about Xuan because her sister died because dude left her, so it's like, it's this kind of little triangle of a thing going on between the three of them during the film. And then, of course, when he tries to go after the gang catches up with him. They kidnap Xuan, and they beat him to death almost again and leave him for dead. They try to bury him in the ground with only his head sticking out the ground. And it takes Angela to come and rescue him from that. And then he gets beat up some more. It's like, it's really funny how all this is going down. But he learns the shadow fist from an old man who was bitten by a snake. And he found the old man in the woods, and he's all beaten up, and he see the old man. He tries to offer help to the old man, and it turns out that the old man is a Taoist priest. He's carrying around these herbs and shit. And, due to the snake bite, he's in bad shape, but he helps nurse the old man back. And the old man decides to teach him some Tai Chi, the shadow fist, So he learns how to fight a little better. And while he had escaped to that, Xuan didn't know where he was. And Angela had asked, he had been asked by Chang Yi, could she go rescue Xuan from the baddies? And she does that, but she can't find Chang after that. So it's like, she thinks he ran off, but he was actually out there getting schooled up by the Taoist priest. The film is a trip. It's kind of all over the place. And no, the way I'm explaining it is not making it worse. That's just how the script was written. But I'll tell you something. The fight scenes are worth sticking around. And this film is a relative, what they call an early 70s basher. Bashers are considered the fights where they swing their arms and legs around and they block and they ward off. And then they punch with power, punches that don't really have power, but it's like that was the early 70s style. Remember, punching with power and authority and things like that came after Bruce Lee. But this is how the choreography went back then. And usually it was still done very well. High leaps were performed with trampolines that were hidden by cameras and things like that, or hidden behind furniture or behind bushes or trees or something when they were outdoors. But they used trampolines to exquisite effect, being able to do these death-defying leaps and everything. So that's one of the things that's memorable about early 70s, bashers, kung fu bashers. And that's what these films were. When they didn't use weapons, they were called bashers. So as this film was put out there, a lot of other films emulated it. And you heard me mention Judy Lee earlier. Judy Lee became another actress that found fame in independent production companies' kung fu films, where she was a star along the lines of Angela Mao. But she didn't have what Angela Mao had. Angela had a certain charisma about herself. Judy Lee could fight and could perform the acts similar to Angela, but there was just something about Angela's chemistry. She had something very special going on, man. And Judy Lee was probably, a close second or third behind her, but there were a number of Hong Kong starlets at that time. Even Shaws began to look for someone that they could put in roles similar to what Angela could do, but they could not really ever find anyone to match what Angela did. Now, Lily Lee, who was a young actress with their studio, who ended up playing strong roles for them, she was prominent, a good actress. She had her own charisma, but she was no Angela Mao. And then they also had Kara Hu Ying. And Kara Hu, she was like a protege, like Gordon Liu under Lau Chai Lang, and she was a great film actress in the Hong Kong film industry of Hong Kong kung fu films. And she's really noted for her role in My Young Auntie. That was her breakout role there. And she was a very gifted actress. And she's still in films today and still a little bit active today. Very, very much a legendary actress in her own right. Let's see. Back in the chat, we got Joseph Brown. He says, just like me, a Sade man. Love some Sade. Yeah, man, Sade is something else, man. But I'm going to tell you something. Angela came before Sade, man, so I'm sorry. I still will go for Angela. Angela was just something else. And she could whoop ass. Do you know sometimes you might not feel like putting your foot in somebody's ass, and your woman says, hold on, honey, I got this. And she go out there and start kicking some ass, man, dude, that's a match made in heaven, boy. And he says she was Bruce Lee's sister that was killed in Into the Dragon. Yes, absolutely, Joseph Brown. Angela Mao Ying played Bruce Lee's sister in Into the Dragon. Macadam 1 is in the building. He says, salute Stormy B, man. Got some storm clouds with the deuce. Hey, thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you big time. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Lady Whirlwind is definitely Angela's breakout role. And if you just want to see her, if you've ever watched any of her films from the past and you want to see her first leading actress role, that's what that is. That is 100% her breakout role. And she was doing her thing in that film, man. She was doing it to death, as James Brown and the JBs would say. Doing it to death. I really liked how she carried herself in the film. Matter of fact, the film ends with her walking off into the distance, and nobody could match her in the film. And she was so she was so solid that you could see her as the lone wolf female. You know, she didn't need no man, she didn't need no kids. She just wanted whatever her objective was, and she went about it, you know, taking care of that business. Got to give a lot of respect to that lady. She really carried the industry for Golden Harvest Studios, man. Big time. Big time. She was really a true star. This film, if I'm not mistaken, made $5 million total box office after they released it in the U.S. I think in the U.S. it brought in like 2-3 million or something, which was totally unheard of at the time. And Raymond Chow ate that up, man. He ate it up. So he definitely wasn't going to tell her about that, right? And you know that's a scumbag for you right there. So yeah. So just sitting here, you know, talking about this film, brothers. You know, I try to give you background on the actors, the actresses, the producers, and directors, because as you're being introduced to these films, to have a little bit of insight as to who these people are that we're discussing, it can kind of help you as far as learning like what you might like, because it's the same thing as American films. You have your fare that you like, but there are certain directors and actors that perform that, you know, when their next joint is coming out, you can't wait to see them because they've touched you in a manner of which you like to support, you know, their efforts and what they give. And Angela Mao is definitely one of the queens of Kung Fu films, but she's at the top of the list as far as I'm concerned. There may have been even more athletic people who came along, you know, in the subsequent years after she went away from the industry. But during the early 70s, it was Bruce Lee and it was her, Mr. and Mrs. in the Hong Kong film industry's box office. They could do no wrong. And she was a badass. 100%. 100%. So, as we talk about these films, it's really gratifying knowing that there's an audience out there like myself that love the films and want to talk about them and revisit them and things like that, you know. I appreciate you brothers being out here kicking it with me about these films. You know, I really do. I really appreciate it, man. So, you know, let me see. We got Dreezy KO just popped into the building. Joseph Brown says, Lady Whirlwind, I will check it out. Yeah, check it out. And Dreezy KO has said, did you like Zhang Yi acting with Kung Fu? Zhang Yi was okay. You know, she's more modern, and you could tell that she doesn't really know martial arts. What she did was taught on the set. Angela was like really good in martial arts. There's a story that she told in an interview that she did way back in 1973, and she was coming home one night and some guy went to rob her, you know, and she broke out with some taekwondo moves on the dude and busted him up real bad, and he took off running like a bat out of hell. And you know, she's such a small woman. Like I said, she's barely 5 feet tall. She might be 4'11", but she's such a slight woman. To know that she was able to handle herself like that, you know, and it wasn't because of her film roles, it's because of her opera background training and everything. She knew how to fight, man. She was the real deal. You know, Zhang Li, she's a beautiful young lady, very good actress, but she's not a real martial artist. And that's the thing, Dreezy KO. when I talk about these films, I like to put the shine and the spotlight on the fighters that they actually were at that time. During that time, you had people who were very, very capable. Okay? And this is why once Bruce Lee died, so many of them came into their own prominence. Because studios looked at the talent left and right, and they began to utilize the talent. Sometimes they couldn't give everybody a starring role, so they created ensemble roles where you'll have 5 to 8 of those guys, like the 5 Venoms and the 10 Tigers and all of those films that would come later, the 2-on-1, two good guys against a villain, because the talent was so in such abundance, you had to find new ways and refreshing ways to feature them. And that's how everybody got a chance to shine. In a way, it was a good thing when Bruce was gone, because the talent pool went so deep, it created something. If Bruce had remained, he would have smothered a lot of that talent that was around, because it was what he was, and maybe he would have been stereotyped because he basically played against the other narratives, the other people. That's why they had a hard time finding roles for him, because his personality and character was so strong, he wasn't believable as certain things. So they looked at him and they tried to emulate him after he died, and it didn't work. So people went back to doing who and what they were really about, and then things started flourishing again. Joseph Brown says, she beautiful. She has that sex appeal and fierce, no-nonsense look. Yeah, you talking about Zhang Ziyi? Yeah, she's all right. But she's not a real martial artist. That's what I want to stress. And I kind of like the people who could do it for real. At least from that era. Everybody from that era could do it for real. So, yeah. They found ways to put those people on front. Mm-hmm. So, Dreezy KO says, do you think Bruce Lee would have been able to play a villain role? I'll tell you something, Dreezy KO. I think that's where he was going to excel as a villain, because he had a very strong personality, and most of the guys in the early 70s who played the heroic roles, they ended up great villains. Carter Wong, Chang Yi, who else? My man from Shaw Brothers, T. Lung, what's his other? Chen Kwa Tai. Those guys, they were strong heroes and heroic. Okay, but when they start to play villains, that's when they were excellent. I mean, think about Chen Kwa Tai when he was in what's that film? The Return of the Five Venoms, and he was like, the Cripple Avengers, where he crippled all those guys and his son crippled those guys. He was a villain, man. It was like, get that dude, whoop his ass. You know what I mean? So I think those guys gave, so much more. That charisma could go into a different place when they would play villains. And I think Bruce would have made a wonderful villain. He would have made a wonderful villain. You know what I mean? They had written a role for him for Shaw Brothers. He was supposed to, in the fall of '73, after he finished his promotional tour with Enter the Dragon, he was going to resume the filming of Game of Death, which he didn't have very much to do. And then, like in October, September of '73, he had left that open for a film that he was supposed to do with Shaw Brothers. Now, the film, he never got to make the film, and the script stayed on the shelf for about 10 years. And then Lo Wei, his original director from The Big Boss and Fist of Fury, had opened up his own independent film company, and he decided to bring that script that was written for Bruce Lee back to life. And it ended up being called a film called The Rebellious Reign. The Rebellious Reign. And that was a very good independent film by Lo Wei's film production company. And the leading role of that film was supposed to be the role that Bruce Lee was supposed to play. And he was supposed to be a Ming patriot in there that was a traitor or whatever, saw his family and friends killed and stuff, but he was doing it under sneak because he was trying to bring down the empire by himself. And in that role, the lead character, he dies in the end because, you know, he did all these things, but he did it for good, but he went about it bad, and it's like he met a bad end. But there's great fighting in that film. There's great action scenes. The special effects is very good because there's some impalements and some slices with swords that look so realistic for its time. I think it was 1980 that Rebellious Reign was done. But I'll tell you something. That is a great film, and I could review that film one day. But that's the film that was supposed to be made with Bruce Lee and the Shaw, Rebellious Reign. I don't think it was called The Rebellious Reign when they wrote the script for him, because the lead character in the film is called Nin Kaya. What is it called? Nin Kin Yao. And Nin Kin Yao is a real person in history. And they wrote that role for Bruce Lee. So that was an excellent question, and I appreciate that, because it's questions like that that make me speak about my knowledge about the films that I like to share with you guys, because I want you guys to know that when I talk about these movies, I could talk about them more and more in depth, but if you give me the questions and I get a chance to talk and respond to them, that's where I can share my knowledge, because I don't like to just, you know, just be talking, because I think I lose people, or people are not disinterested. So when you ask questions like that, I appreciate it, and it lets me know that I could respond with some fruitful information for you. I appreciate that, bro. And Drizzy KO says, damn, Liu Mang and Bruce Lee would have been a badass fight. That's like Crawford versus Spence. Yeah. But Lo Mein was a lot younger than Bruce Lee. When Bruce Lee died, he was 32 years old. And I think when Lo Mein came into prominence with the Shaws, he might have been about 24, 25 years old. So he was very young. And that was years after Bruce Lee died. So I think Bruce would probably be closer to 40 if their paths would have crossed. Sort of like Chen Kwai Tai. Because Chen Kwai Tai and Bruce Lee were around the same age. They were peers, you know. So, yeah, that's interesting, though. So, yeah, you brothers out there, you know, when you ask those questions like that, I appreciate that, man. I really have an appreciation for that. You know, I really do. So, yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on in the industry. So, but if you guys got any more questions, I could take, you know, some questions out here right now for these last few minutes that I have for the show. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and get ready to shut it down because I don't want to stay on too long. You know, I like to keep these film shop shows kind of like, you know, right around an hour or so. Let you know that's how I do it. So I enjoy doing that. I appreciate you guys, you know, tuning in, listening, you know, because I can talk kung fu films all day, man. Appreciate you guys. I don't think 78 is still out there, but 78 should have stuck around. He could ask a few questions and I can drop them answers, man. You know, because I tell you, I'm authentic, bro. I'm authentic with my kung fu. So I got one playing on the TV right now. That Dragon Fist that I would suggest. It's going to be Dragon Fist with Jackie Chan, directed by Lo Wei, okay? Starring James Tien, okay? And Nora Mao. So that'll be the next joint that I drop up in here, you know? So let me just say, man, it's been a lot of fun, brothers and sisters, listening in to the focus, you know, the kung fu film focus. Dreezy KO says I should do Secret Rivals soon. I'm gonna get around to Secret Rivals, Dreezy. It's like, you know what, there's so much, man. And it's not that I'm like, oh, I don't want to do Secret Rivals. I will get around to it. Maybe I'll make that the one after Dragon Fist, because I know that you and someone else have been asking for Secret Rivals. And I don't have a problem doing Secret Rivals. Secret Rivals is one of my favorite joints. I watch it a lot. I just watched it about 6 months ago. I watched it again. And part 2 is pretty good too. So, you know, that's something I have no problem with. I would like to get some interaction on here too. If I could get a brother to get on here with me and talk about the film so we can have some banter and play back and forth. I don't like, from the standpoint of sounding like I'm preaching to you guys, just talking at you guys. I like to interact with people, so that's something I would like to do. But you know, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Brown says, great segment. What's the next one? Yeah, probably the Dragon Fist, man. Then after that, probably Secret Rivals. KO gonna hang around until I do Secret Rivals. Probably Secret Rivals Part 2. Then he gonna drop off the map like he don't know me. And I see y'all hanging in the chat, man. But you know, I got a little icon up there for it now for the PayPal, so it's you can hit that. I see Joseph Brown hit that. Let me go to the PayPal and do an acknowledgement there, because I like to acknowledge while I'm on the air. Let's see what we got.
Hey, Stormy.
Like a kid in the candy store. Wifey, you still there?
Hey, Stormy, you know you ain't no good, man. You know
what's
what you
up?
was doing.
Huh?
You gonna pull a whole Angela Mao stream, and you ain't gonna invite the Angela Mao King. What's up with it?
Oh no, brother, it's not even like that, man. Remember when I sent you a text earlier, and I said I'm doing Lady Whirlwind, and you didn't come right back to me. I put my reminder out there that I was doing it at 8:15, and everything, man. And I know you're doing a lot of other stuff. Hey, and that's it in a nutshell. It wasn't I was trying to exclude you.
Hey, nah, I hit you back, but I was over here listening to you get it in about that movie, and the reason it's kind of funny because you told me you was gonna do that movie, and I went and watched it last night too.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say this, man. We still on air. That's your that's your girl too, Angela Mao. You just heard me say I like to have some brothers on here to talk about it with. We could cook for a few more minutes so you can get what you want to say about everything out there, and there's still some brothers listening. So I don't mind, bro. I really don't. You should have just hit me before start time, and we could have did it together.
That's why I hopped on real quick. I was just watching that movie. Look, I watched it last night, and it was so damn good. I woke up hella early this morning, and I ran that shit back and watched it again.
Yeah, man.
And of course, that wasn't my first time seeing it, of course. But you don't see a movie 6 months or more go by. You just, you see a movie, and it's refreshing.
Yeah. The thing about this film here, it kicked off her career. When she got signed to the studio, she did a couple of other films that got released before and after, but this was her starring role. And boy, she shined like a star in that film because she was she had personality. She had character. You could tell that she wasn't nobody to be fucked with in this film. Her whole disposition was different from any other Chinese woman that you may have seen in films. The only other character that I could put in comparison in Chinese film might have been the character that Chang Pei Pei played in Come Drink With Me. But even in that film, Come Drink With Me, Chang Pei Pei's character toward the end of the film, she, when she started dealing with Yuen Wah, not Yuen Wah, I forget his name at the top of off the top of my head. But when she was dealing with his character, she started showing that feminine soft side. Right, early in the film, she was a kick-ass broad, but then in the end of the film, she turned she got soft and stuff. Well, Angela never got soft in this film. She kicked ass from beginning to end, and that was something that was not normal in Hong Kong film industry back at the time. It was either, little weakling women or women that got slapped around or something like that, or prostitutes or something. This lady came in, she was an assassin. She came in, she started blowing through the town, and all the bad guys kicking everybody's ass like it was nobody's business, man.
Hey, speaking of prostitutes, remember when the nigga when he went to go see his brother, and he was like, he said, hey, go get yourself a bird. And he looked at his brother and said, what's a bird?
Yeah, and he told me, he's like, it's a girl, you idiot, or something. And then he was like, I'll help you go over there and pick some out. And his woman was like hell you will.
Yeah. That nigga said, hey, go get you a bird. He said, I'll take two. Yeah. She was like the landlady. The landlady is always, pretty much like a role, kind of, I guess you could say kind of like the villain role. Hey, but she was talking about Angela. Hey, she served the shit out of the bodyguard dude who was there to protect the brother.
Yeah.
She served the shit out of him when old boy couldn't. He had messed old boy up. But yeah, she served the shit out of him. And I think he tried to do that, like some type of like jumper leap. She caught that nigga in midair. Hey, she caught that nigga in midair, hit him all in his ribs. That was a knockout blow.
Dude, she was something fierce in this film, man. Did you see when she took that bag of money, them coins, and she was whacking Samo across his head with that bag?
Hey, hell yeah.
Man, she was fierce, man. And I mean, the way she played the role, it was like really her personality or something. And she's nothing like that at all in real life, but she played it so well. She was a mean ass, man. It was like you didn't want to fuck with her. And even Pai Ying in the movie said to his crew of guys, he was like, hey, is that bitch really that tough? Remember he said that?
Yeah, that's exactly how he said it too. Is she really that tough?
Yeah, because when they came to him and they was all beat up and shit, he was sitting there rolling them metal balls in his hand, and he was like, hey, is that bitch really that tough? You know, because everybody was getting their ass whooped by her.
Hey, but see, they ain't have no respect for old boy, what's his name, Shang, her husband or whatever. They ain't had no respect for him, but they feared Angela like a motherfucker.
Oh yeah, because he couldn't really fight at the beginning. He couldn't fight until after that old Taoist priest taught him the Tai Chi. You know, once he taught him that, he could fight better. You know, but you know what? When he told Angela in the movie, he said, "Yeah, I've learned some Tai Chi." She said, "Good, because it ain't gonna help you, because I'm still gonna kill your ass."
Hey, that nigga had to beg for his life for like 4 times. And, she was pleading. Hey, don't kill my husband. We got a future. All type of shit. Man, we ain't even had our children yet.
Listen, man. See, now that's what I'm talking about being able to talk about the movie with somebody who's seen it, because it's those kind of elements that we could play off of each other, because it's like, the audience, I could tell the audience the facts and the figures and stuff, but it's these little tidbits that we're dropping right now that were missed throughout the show, because that's what made the movie really entertaining. Like I said, he asked for asked for her to give him a break like 3-4 times, man. You know, and she was like, yeah, well, what if they kill you? She's like, then how am I going to get my revenge? You know, she was like...
yeah, he was asking for his life, and, you know, like I said, and the wife, Shing. How we say her name. Yeah, and they was begging. And then, see, this film is usually, they usually in like in like a tea house or something where it's going down. Nah, right. They was in a casino in this one. They had it going on in the casino.
But I'm telling you, but it's like 3 places, man. The casino, the tea house, and the school. Those 3 places, a fight going down if in a kung fu movie. If you're in a school, a casino, or a tea house, it's going down.
Hey, yeah. Hey, they kick off the movie. It's going down in the tea house. And again, she's showing it off the rip. Yeah, she got killed. The only person, well, you know, who was able to do something too was when Shing cracked her over the head when she was fighting over board. Hey, I was the one here to quit it. She got her with it. She was hot after that. I know I ain't gonna let none of these niggas with me.
Remember when Chang Yi got beat up, and then she had saved him, right? And then he was calling for his girl, Schwan, 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 Schwan. And then he reached up at Angela. He was like, Schwan, Schwan. She slapped his hand away like, I ain't Schwan, Schwan. What the hell wrong with you?
Yeah. Hey, I think was looking for a savior. She's like, nah, nigga, I'm still serving you up for me. Nigga, this all me.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, man, I really like the movie. It's so, it's so 70s, kung fu. That's what it is. But the thing is, it's like she's the man in the movie. But she all woman though. And it's like she's a badass. Man, she come through town like a fucking hurricane, whooping them dudes' ass.
Hey, and you know what's so cold about her style in that movie? Because you know her being petite and short. She, like I said, she probably was like 5'1", 5'2" at most. But her style is like a counter style. So if you see, she do like she kind of like a Terrence Crawford. She take a step back and then she just counter your ass. Like she used your momentum against you. That's what she kept doing.
Yeah.
All throughout the movie, she used your momentum, your forward momentum against you, and she'll tear you up.
Yeah, and see, that's that choreography by Samo. Samo always, this is the thing he did not get credit for. Samo would always use a person's abilities to the best, at their optimum. He knew how to make somebody look good. Even if you weren't good, whatever you could do well, he would find that and amplify that for you. And that would be your featured, thing when you having a fight scene that he's choreographing. That's the one thing that he was excellent at. The one thing that I had a problem with Bruce Lee's choreography is this. When he choreographed other people, it was almost like he went through the motions. But when he did his scenes for himself and involving himself, he always amped it up, and made himself look more superior in a certain manner. And the thing about that is he could have did that for other people too. But primarily, most of those that he was working with, they were a lot younger than him and they weren't as experienced at that time. But had he lived a couple of more years, he would have ran across the likes of like Wong Ching Lee and guys like that. Because Wong Ching Lee was fucking incredible. You know what I'm saying? And I would have loved to see a fight scene with Wong Ching Lee and Bruce Lee. Man, you talking about something that's, if you thought Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris was good in Way of the Dragon, man, something with Wong Ching Lee and Bruce Lee, or Bruce Lee and John Liu and those kind of guys, Tan Tao Lang with them, those kicks.
Tan Tao Yang, Don Wong, Casanova, all them dudes.
Yeah, man. Those guys, they came later, like 4 years after Bruce was off the scene. That's when those guys started popping up,
Yep. Yeah, bro. Hey, and whoever out there listening, most of my avatars I be having, on my on the Discord, YouTube, most of them avatars be Angela now. Probably like 70% of them. That's what I be having all in my profile all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's how I knew you loved kung fu movies when I first met you on YouTube. I said, this brother loved kung fu movies. He got Angela Mao up there. What you know about Angela Mao? You remember me asking you that when we first met? I was like, Hyphy, what you know about Angela Mao?
Hey, because I used to be running around with her, and it was either her or the Hot, Cool, and Vicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be running around. Yeah, y'all was the first brothers to even approach me. You was actually.
Yep.
Hey, but like, hey, you know what's crazy though? Because that's a badass woman finding a mother. But it's so crazy. It's like I've been watching her for so long, and I got so much respect for her skills that I don't even look at her like that.
No,
I just see a kick-ass woman first.
Exactly, man. Because she's just an awesome, an awesome personality. She just oozed charisma, like Bruce did in his own way. She did. She had something about her. It was like the camera liked her. She was good athletically, and her performance was good because she had that charisma. When I saw her in a couple of other films where it's like she wasn't as badass like this, or like she played, she downplayed herself, it was totally different. I remember, like, if you see this movie that she's in called The Association, and in that film she's playing two roles. She's playing a sister of another woman that a twin sister that gets killed, by a firing squad. So like early on she gets killed in the movie, but she's in the rest of the movie as the twin sister. So it's like, wow, and the twin sisters had different personalities. So she was very good in that, you know.
Hell yeah, nah, she you know, that was cool because that was her like breakthrough role where she could come through and you know it was about her and shit. You know, Golden Harvest, they had a hit in her because she was with Golden Harvest, right? Yeah.
And as I was saying earlier in the show, Raymond Chow, when they released this film in the U.S., the film did like $3 million, and the total box office take with that in Hong Kong, I think it was 5. So he withheld that information from her. She had no idea that she was a bigger star as she was in the U.S. And Raymond Chow kept all that money away from her and everything, and she had no clue. That's why, like, when she finally moved in the early 80s, when she moved to New Jersey and people started coming in her restaurant recognizing her, she didn't realize that she was that big. She was that big. She over here, she left from Hong Kong to come over here in America. You have to think, like, she was like, how do these people know who I am? You know what I mean? They're like, we seen all your movies, this and that. She's like, you seen my movies? She had no idea that it worked like that. You know, she had no idea. So when people come to her restaurant now and they give her love and stuff and want to take photos, she always interact with them. I got a guy that I know named Kung Fu Bob O'Brien. He went there. He's from Philly. He went there to meet her. And he draws these posters and stuff. And he took that poster that he designed for the Shout Factory Angela Mao collection DVD set. He took the poster of that to her. She started crying when he presented it to her, because she just didn't know that these people in America that love these films loved her like that. She had no idea.
Yeah, that's crazy too. Yeah, I was just about to say before you got into it. You see, I'm glad that you know she was one of the few that you know she came over to America, and like you said in the '80s. You know, that's when she seen that she was popping like that. So yeah, of course she knows she missed out on hella money. Was getting she was getting juiced, but at least she seen her. It was definitely a appreciation just for her. Her specifically, her work and stuff. That was a good feeling. And like you say, even now, she was able to capitalize off that. I believe her restaurant is still, up and running to this day. So, even she ain't get the money that she was supposed to get, by her boy from Golden Harvest. When
my buddy went to her, when he went to her restaurant, that was just a couple years ago when he went. I think it was in 2016. That's when he went to her restaurant and met her. I got an email that he and I exchanged that he talked about that. I'm actually going to invite him on this show, this Kung Fu Film Focus, and have him talk about something, because Kung Fu Bob, he's well known in the Kung Fu movie industry and forums out here. He has a website and everything. The Shaolin 36 Chambers of Shaolin website. You go on that website and they do T-shirts and all that stuff. All that stuff is designed by him. So it's
I know that site. I didn't know that was your boy.
Yeah, that's my boy, Kung Fu Bob O'Brien. We've known each other now for about 8 or 9 years. He sent me a couple of personal pieces. I've got like the 5 Venoms from the Mask Avengers. He did the movie poster art for that DVD. He sent it to me. He sent me a screen print when he finished. He sent me some CDs, soundtracks for Way of the Dragon and everything. He's a real cool dude. Got a real big old beard. Kung Fu Bob O'Brien. He's got this big old beard, man. And he's a cool dude, man. He's very cool. And he knows everything about Kung Fu movies like we do. And more. He's the coolest guy, man. But that 36 Chambers of Shaolin, or Shaolin 36 Chambers website, he's very active on there and on the forums on there. And he's always, they commission him to draw the artwork for movies, Blu-rays and stuff. The Sonny Chiba Street Fighter collection and the Sister Street Fighter collection that just came out earlier this year on Blu-ray. He did the artwork for that. That's him. That's his shit. So that's what he does. He's a wonderful artist. I always rib him about when you gonna do something on Bruce Lee, because I've been waiting for damn near 10 years, Bob O'Brien. And if you're out there listening right now, I'm still talking about it. You ain't gave me my Bruce Lee stuff yet. So he's a hell of an artist. Boy, he's good. His artwork looks like real photographs. That's how good a painting he does. The Angela Mao Shout collection, that's his artwork. The Jimmy Wang Yu Shout collection on DVD, that's his artwork. He drew and painted the pictures, and they look like photographs.
Hey, see, there's a whole bunch of just, history and just classic material. Like, it's up to people my age and even, coming up next to get this, because, this is the type of information that could just die if, you know what I'm saying, if they don't get passed down to us. And, I'm sorry, but this is the type of stuff I'm into. That's me personally.
Oh, yeah, that's what I told you. It's like that's why I created this to have an out, because I know there's a lot of boxing out there that I don't talk and that I'm not fond of. So I found my own avenue, with this, to do this. And man, Kung Fu movies, there's no down point on that. There's always, something great about that genre and those films and everything. So to be able to do something as an alternative to some boxing, to come back to this, I think that's great, And for other people out there who like it, like Joseph Brown, he was waiting for it. Joseph Brown was, as soon as I went live, Joseph Brown was right there. He was waiting for it, obviously, because I put the reminder out. The reminder had a little countdown. I saw it, that it was ready for when I went live. Joseph Brown was right there waiting, and much respect to Joseph for doing that. And he also asked, he said, I do have some questions. Would love to hit you up behind the scenes on Discord. Yeah, Joseph Brown, we could talk on Discord, man. That's not a problem. If you're already on there, yeah, you could just hit me up when you see me live on there. Just hit me up. We could go into Kung Fu. I got on my server on Discord, I got a Kung Fu chat. So even if we get off of here, we could go right to the chat. Me, you, and Hyphy, we could go in there and talk. When we finish the broadcast, because that's what I created that for, and any other brothers and sisters out there that want to talk Kung Fu. That's what that chat forum is for on my server. The Kung Fu chat, it's for us to talk about the movies and stuff like that. And I'm going to say something about that in a minute. Go ahead. And he also says that the Whirlwind reboot part 2 with Stormy B and Hyphy.
Shit, hey, I ain't gonna be in that movie. Ain't no woman gonna be running around whipping my ass.
No, he talking about the fact that we continue on talking about the movie when I was about to shut it down. That's what he talking about.
Oh, hell yeah. Already. That's our job. That's my responsibility.
No, but when you hit me up, Tyson, Hyphy, when you hit me up about, wanting to say something, I was so engaged in the show, I didn't see the text. So, it wasn't that I was ignoring you. I was just, and I was doing my studio stuff with putting the images up on the screen and stuff like that. So it wasn't that I was ignoring you. I just got cooking and got talking. But that's why I like, before the stuff kick off and everything, I like to have all that. If I had known you really wanted to be on there, I would have said, hey, from the time the show start, be ready. Because I will have you right there so you can say everything that you want to say and be a part of that, Because
yeah, but
go ahead.
It's all good. No, I say it's all good because like the way that you bring people to the movie as far as giving them some background and the characters and all that. You killing me on that, so I can't do that. But that's the important part too. So now it's good for you to get that in, and I can just come on, give my thoughts. But not to move off too much, but I want to say you already know this is the first time you didn't heard me on somebody's panel in months. I don't even be in the chat no more, but and some kung fu, you know, I'm with it. So shit, everybody out there listening, look, you know, we all come together on some boxing stuff. I understand that, but like, homie, if it ain't nothing going on in boxing, y'all got to get some more hobbies. If y'all ain't got nothing to talk about new, y'all don't got to be online at all. Y'all can talk about some, you know, kung fu, whatever other hobbies y'all got. But shit, make it interesting so I can come to your channel. If not, I ain't gonna be in your channel. I'm not coming on your panel. I'm not coming in y'all chat. Y'all got to make it interesting. We like kung fu, so that's what we do.
Absolutely, man. And I don't know, I think this might be the seventh show that I've done so far on kung fu movies, and I can see that the audience is growing. I got certain people that's out there asking, hey, what's the next joint, you know, and stuff like that. And that makes me feel good because it lets me know that my efforts are not wasted, man. You know, when I'm doing this, I'm doing it because I got that love for it, but I'm also doing it because this is something that I could talk about in depth. As you hear me, you know, I give these breakdowns of these films. You know, I could tell you about the personalities that star in them, the companies that put them out, you know, what happened to these people, where their lives end up and stuff, you know, and never trying to do it just like to give you, like, burden you down with information, but to just kind of keep it a little interesting, because it's a lot of stuff that you didn't know. Basically, you see the movies on the screen and that's it. You wait till the next one come out and somebody that you're familiar with star in the next one. But, you know, I didn't know that a lot of these people, man, were classically trained, and they had physical gifts that once they got old and stuff, it was like there was no one to replace them, because those opera troops don't operate like they used to. They don't have that anymore. And some of these people, that was a way of life for them. That's just like, you know, one of the Venoms, you know, the young looking guy, he, you know, that died from cancer, you know, and his wife had left him, he, you know, and stuff like that. And the movies, he weren't making them no more in the early 80s, and he died. You know, it's like some of these guys didn't know what to do with their lives when they couldn't make kung fu movies anymore. You know, it's almost like a fighter, you know, he has to retire early, maybe in his late 20s, and he can't fight no more. He's trying to figure out what he's going to do with his life, because all he knew was fighting, you know, that kind of thing.
And this is, you know, I like talking this too, because, you know, like I said, when it's slow in boxing and stuff, or you got to talk about, oh, you know, this dude, like, for example, the stuff that's going on this Saturday, it's stuff you don't even really want to talk about. You're just talking about it because it's part of the sport. That's what I'm saying, bro. You can move on to something way better. You can talk some movies that you actually like. Why you got to be surrounded with fighters you don't like? You got to talk about them for 2 hours every day. I'd rather talk some kung fu. That's the only way I'm coming on the channel.
Yep. And I try to, you know, and if you notice too, Hyphy, with me and the movies that I've been doing thus far, like the Shaw Library is over 800-900 films. That's the Shaw Library alone, okay? And those films got remastered in the early 2000s by Celestial Pictures. And you can find the films on Amazon Prime. You can find them on Netflix. You can find them a lot of places. I got a number of them on DVD. Can't even count. But at the same time, that's a huge chunk of the Kung Fu genre. But that's not the whole Kung Fu genre. So if you notice, I haven't done a Shaw film yet, because I want people to know that, yeah, Shaw may have cornered the market on the industry, but that wasn't the only good fare out there. So when I talk about these films, there are a number of independent films and other smaller companies like Golden Harvest that made Kung Fu films, and that are classics that we didn't know. You think about Shaw Brothers, you just think that that's all it, but it wasn't all under the Shaw umbrella. You know, it's like there are a number of other films, and some of the small independent companies that produce Kung Fu films. where they didn't have high production values and they usually fighting out on the countryside somewhere or something like that. That's done like that by design, because they didn't have huge production values. So it's easy to set a camera up in the woods or out in on a mountain somewhere and have the guys fight out there, because hey, they didn't have to have sets and chairs and glass and vases and shit like that. That shit costs money, so that's one of the things that I wanted to point out. And that's why you haven't seen me talk about a Shaw production yet. And it's not that I'm hating on Shaw's, because I'm not. I love Shaw Brothers films. They look beautiful with their sets and high production values. It's just that there's so much more to the Kung Fu film industry that it's like I'm starting with that lesser stuff, because it's like we know what the Shaws got, and eventually I will be doing some Shaw's material. But I'm trying to just bring people in with stuff you may have overlooked because you were so looking at the Shaws.
Hey, and before I get it, say anything else, see that movie right here, Lady Whirlwind. I think if it's on YouTube, I know it's not the English dub version because I couldn't even find it on YouTube. Of course, you got it on Amazon Prime, you can watch it there. But I actually watched it. I found just like a video on the web, like online. Just it plays right there. If anybody want to watch this Lady Whirlwind, just holler at me on Discord or hit Stormy B Man email up, and I'll send you the link where you can watch it in English dub. Y'all can watch it and stuff. And also, if you have you made up your mind on what's going to be the next movie for sure next week?
Yeah, I said already it's going to be Dragon Fist with Jackie Chan.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because see what people could do, y'all could go and watch that movie, and y'all gonna see the movie, but then after the Stormy could come back and give y'all the breakdown, the history of the main characters, the plot. Oh, that might have been a movie. That might have been a remake, this movie in the past. Oh, he could give y'all, the politics behind it and everything. The same way, he could do some older boxing fights.
Right.
So yeah, y'all out there listening, y'all should go and y'all should come, have it just like homework. Do y'all homework. Go watch this film before y'all come back next week, so we can, really get into it. Y'all can understand, more of what's going on. Because if y'all didn't watch Lady Whirlwind, I hope y'all do. Because yeah, Angela Mao be putting it down. You heard me?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
For sure.
She put it down. But yeah, man, it's, a hell of a film. Was from like 72, we said? 1972, that's when it came out?
Yeah, it was actually made in 71, and it was released in 72. Over here, released in 72, late 72, early 73 over here. But it was made in 71. She made like 4 films all back to back, and then they released them at different times. So yeah, that's why it's like, it was made in 71, but if you want to say 72, it's okay, because they may not have released it in certain regions, before a certain time. Yeah, I see Joseph Brown is asking you to send him that link on the, I guess we could do that on the Discord. So why don't I do this? Yeah. Let me go ahead and close this show out on the air, and I can meet you guys over on the Discord server in the Stormy B-Man Kung Fu chat.
Hey, yeah, and if there's anybody out there, that's not on Discord, but y'all want a link to the movie, y'all see Stormy B-Man, he got his email in there, so just, email him, and, I'll send it to him so y'all can get it, because I said it's, I don't think it's on YouTube, but it's still a movie y'all need to see. No excuses, I got it. Y'all need to see it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out here. And I want to thank everybody that came out to listen to this episode of the Kung Fu Film Focus, Lady Whirlwind, a.k.a. Deep Thrust. And I want to say, thanks for everybody that came out with us this evening. You know, this is Stormy B Man, also with my man Hyphy, and salute to Joseph Brown. We can continue to talk about some things behind the scenes on the Discord. So until the next time, when we talk about Dragon Fist, I want to say peace to everybody that's out there.
Already.